The spirit of the age was violent and tempestuous. There were the suffragettes hurling bricks at 10 Downing Street. In industry, there was a wave of strikes and lockouts, and great bitterness between employers and employed. The time was one of great contrasts, violence and peacefulness, wealth and poverty, and such gaiety as we have never seen since.
1914 was a beautiful summer, and for those with money, life was extremely good. So good that there's a tendency to forget the other interpretation of those pre-war years as a time of crisis. With strikes sweeping the country and growing tension in Ireland over Home Rule, women demanding the vote were forced into dramatic acts to draw attention to their cause. Would their demands be met?
It is evident that the man, possessing the power of reason, strength, and the courage to employ it, is qualified for being a protector. The woman, being little capable of reasoning, feeble and timid, requires protection. Under such circumstances, the man naturally governs. The woman, as naturally, obeys.
This was the Victorian ideal, backed by law and custom. Men were stronger, women were weaker, born to marry and raise children. The ideal meant different things to different classes.
Well, I don't think we thought of anything except finding a nice young man, getting married, and starting a family life. There was no idea then, you see, of girls earning a living or getting a job of any kind. Among the girls that I moved with just then, we just wanted a good time and to meet some nice young man and finally to settle down. That's all our parents wanted.
Upper-class women were not idle. On the contrary, they had devised for themselves a dizzy and often exhausting schedule to fill their time.
Tuesday the 9th of June, 1914. Nui and Marianne went shopping at Harrods after breakfast, and I joined them at Tudor's. Had a 1 o'clock lunch, then we three were shown the latest ladies' wear. I tried several dresses, but none quite matched my hat. I liked the straight skirts, utterly simple this year. The hats, though lovely, are rather high.
In April each year, society families shut down their country mansions and opened their townhouses in Mayfair or Belgravia. For 3 months until the end of July, they gave themselves up to the single-minded pursuit of pleasure.
We always had a large party for Ascot races, and all our friends had people staying with them too. And there were dinner parties and balls every night during race week. These full days of gaiety involved frequent rapid changes of dress. We wore chiffon lace at Ascot with large and becoming picture hats. We would rush home and change quickly into linen or cotton dresses in order to go on the river until the time came to change for dinner.
Not all women found these demands satisfying.
My husband is increasingly absorbed in his legal duties, of which I understand nothing, and so which do not interest me. My children are all growing up and at school. I have servants enough to run my house. When he comes home in the evening, if I try to amuse him by telling him of the things I have been doing during the day, of the good causes I am working for, the shopping I have done, the visits I have paid, he is bored. He's anxious to get away to his study, his books and his men friends, and I am left utterly alone.
Outside her home, the scope of a married woman's activities was severely limited. She might pay morning calls, perform works of charity and attend tea parties, but there was very little for her to really apply her mind to.
The men made all the choices, everything. And they were in control of all the money, where the children were educated. I suppose some men did give their wives a certain freedom of choice on things like the furniture or the furnishings or the employment of any servants that were in the household. But that was really because they didn't want to be bothered with it. It was, they still had the power.
The position of women was beginning to change in late Victorian times. Increased education and greater employment opportunities were beginning to change women's lives. Women were able to work in the new offices as clerks and as typists. Others were able to become nurses and occupy professional positions such as school teachers. But women still found themselves restricted by Edwardian society. The new woman had come out of the home, but found herself restricted on every side by what was expected of women in family and public life.
The Victorian ideal had never applied to working-class women. They had seen their mothers worn down by the long, wearisome battle against poverty and dirt.
Women wore their lives away by washing clothes in heavy iron-hooped tubs, scrubbing wood and stone, polishing furniture and fire irons. On Saturday morning, steps and pavements were cleaned to show their cleanliness to the world.
To the burden of housework was added that of continual childbearing and the necessity to go out to work.
My sister and I were carried out of our bed at 5:30 every working day to be left in the care of Granny Ford for 4 shillings a week. Mother came rushing home from Benson's in the breakfast half hour to give us our breakfast. And my first actual recollection is of one such morning when I was sitting with my back to the fire and a cinder flew out and stuck on the back of my neck. But Benson's bell was ringing them back to work and a neighbour had to come in and make a fuss of me and stop me crying.